Don't I love surprises? I'm darn sure it's the nicest. I thought we were doing just fine.
Wait, hold on a second. That's not our opening music. Oh, that's the new hit single, All of the Roses, by friend of the show, Samita. Let me just fix that, but if you want to listen to the rest of the song, I added a link to the episode description. Hello, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 4 of Baki Taki. This one's called The Second. It's a bit confusing because this is Episode 4. But to help unpack this great episode, we have a new guest, never before on the pod. It's Matt.
Woo! Thank you so much, Steve. It's an honor to finally be here.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to get you on the podcast forever. And for all we know, you might be the last new guest we ever have. I'm running out of people.
I wasn't doing you any favors. I had seen the original Baki with the escaped convicts, so you couldn't have me on for that as all the surprises were taken away. So this new season has already got me excited.
Yeah. So for new guests, I have two questions that I like to ask everybody so the audience gets a chance to know you. First off, other than Baki, what have you been watching?
So what I've been watching recently is Succession just started up again, so I'm watching the new season of that, and Yellow Jackets, which has actually gotten me back. It lost me a bit at the end of season 1, but they got me back in. And just finishing part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean, which actually also has a lot of prison themes, funny enough, so
yeah,
on brand.
It's got a lot of prison themes. I started watching that, and I can never. I want to finish it. I could just never get myself to do it. Just not enough Baki in it. Second question for you, Matt. What experience did you have with Baki before watching this episode? So you've watched. What is it that you've watched the original series with the Death Row? Did you watch the Raitai tournament?
Yeah, so I watched, COVID had just started and I needed a light at the end of the tunnel, and there was Baki on my recommended Netflix list. So I watched the Death Row Inmates and the Raitai tournament. Both, you described it perfectly in the episode with Blair. You never really know what's going to happen. And that's the perfect way to describe Baki. And I was hooked ever since. So I watched those both, but I didn't even know they had this new Son of Ogre, Baki Hanma season.
Yeah, it was luckily I keep an eye for these things. I think I watched it like the day it came out. Cool. Well, let's jump into it because this is a fun one. So we ended the last episode with Jay Guevara coming out of the broom closet that he sleeps in because he's a warrior, and basically we just pick up from there. Matt, do you want to describe how the episode starts?
Wait, so Jay Guevara comes out of the broom closet. I thought this starts with the guards kicking everybody out of their cells. I didn't realize we knew the flip yet.
Yeah, no, it was the last episode ended with Jay Guevara coming out of the broom closet, and then immediately the guard comes over and says, "Everybody get out of your cells."
Hey, sweethearts, get a move on! You getting ready for a party or something? Quit dawdling or you'll get a kick in the ass!
Oh my gosh. So we knew it was Jay Guevara? I thought that was like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. I was so excited to talk about the big twist.
Oh, well, maybe, you know what? Maybe I've ruined this because I knew it was Jay Guevara because I've watched the whole show. But maybe you're right. Maybe
they call him Mr. Second, and then at the very end, you're just like...
Oh, I ruined it. You're right. It wasn't known until later in the episode.
Oh my god, it's totally fine because, I have so much to say. And we are saying Jay Guevara. I want to make that very clear for the listeners at home. We're not mispronouncing anything. His name is Jay Guevara. Yeah. And we'll get into it a little later, but oh my gosh, yeah, what a twist that is.
Yeah. But you are right. They do refer to him as number 2 or Mr. Number 2, I believe. So the first scene's pretty fun. All of the prisoners have to get out of their cells, and I think this is standard prison stuff, I guess. I don't know if they do it all at the same time. But while the guards are, yelling at them, telling them all the rules, it seems that Mr. Number 2 doesn't have to follow the rules. Do you want to go in on what happens there?
Yeah, so you're right. They're just literally counting the cells. And in a prison of 4,000 prisoners, I guess that takes 2.5 hours. I don't know, like, how long. They're just doing cell roll call, so that must be a while.
All cells report!
Cell 1, clear! Cell 2, clear! Cell 3, clear! Cell 4, clear!
Cell 5, clear!
But as they're doing this, Mr. Number 2 just walks up to the guard who's been yelling at everybody. He just takes the cigarettes right out of his pocket and starts smoking them, which is a pretty baller move. I mean, Baki seems pretty taken aback.
No way. How's he getting away with smoking in front of them like that?
And then he asks for the breakfast specials?
Yeah,
he
asked Mike Tyson what we're having for breakfast today.
That's the Mike Tyson character? Oh my goodness.
What's for breakfast?
They're serving pork and beans.
Oh my goodness, that makes so much more sense now. But yeah, and then Mike Tyson answers him. He's like, yeah, we're having pork and beans, which actually doesn't sound so bad, if I'm being honest, for prison food.
And then Che Guevara's like,
I really don't like pork or beans.
who doesn't like pork or beans?
Listen, I get it if he's just like, not into pork or whatever, but you're right. It's pretty nondescript. But where he loses me is his alternative is an omelet. Just like a prison egg omelet. Are you kidding me? That sounds way worse than pork and beans.
Oh yeah, I'm sure like the lunch lady they have making his meal is an expert omelet chef. Maybe they have like a little make your own omelet like section for Che Guevara.
I mean, his omelet does look pretty nice. Maybe he did put like a little Western. Maybe he like spiced it up a little bit. There's like sriracha or something on that omelet.
Yeah, I can believe that.
But yeah, like he just asked the lunch special. The guard punches Mike Tyson for talking, and then we cut to Che Guevara and his omelet, Mr. Number 2, eating away.
So I want to linger on the guard punching Mike Tyson.
What's for breakfast?
They're serving pork and beans. I told you no talking!
First off, it's funny because Mike Tyson like doesn't even really react to getting punched in the face by this guard. But what I love is the guards are being completely they're ignoring Mr. Number 2, and that's because he is above the rules. But to keep this air of authority, they don't just acknowledge that Mr. Number 2 is above their control. They literally act like he doesn't exist, and I don't mean like a oh, we don't see it. Like, they act like he is a ghost. If you talk to him, they go, who are you talking to? What's going on? And so when Mike Tyson said, we're having pork and beans, they go, who asked that? Shut up. It's my favorite part of the episode.
I know, it is. It's actually kind of crazy. It's a little cold and, pretty cool, if I might add, that they just, like, completely ignore him. And it's like, all his actions still have consequences, but all the guards just deal with the repercussions. In fact, my favorite moment of the episode has to directly deal with this, but then we're jumping ahead again. So
yes, I know what you're referring to, though.
Oh yeah, that's cold ice. Anyway, yeah, and also the guard's second punch. I don't know if it was the animation or maybe it was that week, but it looked pathetic. Looked like I could have taken that second punch when he punches Mike Tyson.
What number do you think you'd be in this prison of 4,000 prisoners?
Oh my goodness, 4,001, man. I'd be 6 feet under. You see the guys in this prison? Not a single one of them is under 9 feet. It's insane.
There's that one little old man that talked to Baki, but I feel like he probably knows the most martial arts. So I agree. I think we'd both die pretty quick.
Actually, against my own point, in the opening intro, it reveals Baki's height, which is 5'6", because it's his prison photo, and the tip of his head is at the 5'6" marker. So that he's a short dude.
It's one of the things on this show is that a lot of times, like, I've probably said people are 7 feet tall like 20 times on this podcast, but it's because I'm using Baki as a frame of reference. Like when you actually look at like some of the numbers they throw around, like the praying mantis that he fought a few episodes ago.
Oh my goodness.
I would be taller and heavier than that mantis. Like it's it wouldn't be as intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, like it puts everything into perspective, because then, like you're saying, the old man is like 2 feet shorter than Baki. So this guy must have a condition. Like, and then what is he doing in this prison with no help? I feel bad for him.
Yeah. Well, you know, can't do the crime. Don't do the fun fact about this prison is nobody acknowledges that they did any crimes, really, because you don't want to like hate these guys.
Well, clearly they're in prison because they were born stupid, as the guard says twice to them, unprompted. He's like, well, it's your fault, you're all born stupid. And then he comes back and is like, that's what you get for being born stupid.
When he said it the second time, I thought the actor had to ad-lib or something. Like, it was
all right, you get one ad-lib this episode. Here you go. And he just says the same thing he said 2 lines earlier.
Again, blame yourselves for being born stupid.
But yeah, so after Mike Tyson gets punched in the face, we cut to the dining hall. Everybody's having an omelet. Jay Guevara's having an omelet. Everybody else is having horrible pork and beans. And we're introduced to a new character, a sumo prisoner. I didn't look up his name. Editor Steve can add that in. According to the wiki, he doesn't really have a name. He's credited as self-styled First. But what does he get up to, Matt?
Oh my goodness. Well, he gets up to, you know, he's top dogging pretty hard, because he's trying to pick the biggest, toughest looking guy. He's taking Michael Scott's prison advice. Mm-hmm. And is trying to find the biggest, toughest guy and challenging him to a fight. But that's himself, which is a bit odd, because the guy is like so much bigger. It's one of those Baki animation moments where you're like, is this guy just a small Godzilla, or is he actually this tall? Like, are they just making him seem more intimidating?
Yeah.
So he sits across from number 2, and he's just trying to intimidate him by eating pork and beans really intensely. Like, he's just kind of chatting him up.
He does have the coolest move, which if I could do, I would do in a heartbeat, where he doesn't like his spoon, so he tears it in half, and now he has 2 points to use as a fork.
I'm like, there's no way that's a metal spoon, because they're in prison. Why the heck would they give them metal spoons? That's shit. That's got Shiv written all over it, especially in a prison like that. So he just maybe ripped a paper spoon, which is not as impressive.
It would be way less and it would explain why he was annoyed with it to begin with. Like, it was a pretty if you have a paper spoon, that's not great.
But also, this guy clearly isn't the smartest, because he just like pokes the pork bit he's trying to pick up with his spoon and then goes, oh man, this thing's so annoying, I can't get this. And then he rips his spoon. He didn't even try to scoop it as a spoon is intended. Yeah. He just was poking it like a fork and was confused at the concept, like he'd never seen a spoon before.
Like, when you're as strong as this guy, the world's your fork. Like, you can use whatever you want.
He's so strong, he's never had to use a spoon ever. He's either bent a fork so it's made a perfect little cradle, or just use forks.
He just sits down at the table and inhales hard enough that the food flies into his mouth.
Honestly, he's big enough that maybe he's got that lung capacity. I don't know. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
But he starts really trash talking number 2. He's like, guess you can call me number 1. Even though he like got to prison yesterday. I don't know. They said he's new. So I don't know what that timeline is, but he's just trying to talk. And, you know, in response, to his credit, Mr. Number 2, he does the floppy spoon, pure intimidation technique, where he pretends to flop the spoon like the optical illusion.
Yeah.
But then he reveals it's completely broken, the spoon. It is floppy. So, pretty scary.
The most incredible, like, Baki feat of something that is very technically impressive, and if you tried to describe it to someone, it sounds very lame. And well, that's Baki in its own right? It's something that maybe talking to someone out loud is very lame, but in the show they make it look very, very cool. Yeah, It's like, oh yeah, I used just my thumb and my index finger to cut a chunk out of a deck of playing cards. If I saw that in real life, I'd be like, holy shit. But if you came over and told me, I'd be like, what? Oh yeah, okay, that sounds a little, that does sound tough.
I couldn't eat my pork and beans, so I ripped my spoon. And then I stabbed it. Yeah, like, you know, you can't, that out loud sounds terrible, but
I'm leaving.
A lot more impressive.
If somebody tells that story. But yeah, so
good icebreaker.
Yeah, so he does that amazing trick, and what is it? I can't remember the exact circumstances on how this happens. The sumo wants to fight, and Mr. Number 2, in the best power move of the episode, takes a gun off a guard for fun, and then gives the gun to the sumo, and then puts it right at his forehead. I don't even know what to add to that.
It's, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory in that way. I mean, it's pretty baller, you're right. He's just like, takes the gun, he's like, go ahead, hold it in your hands and pull the trigger. Even loads it, which I think is a neat little detail. You like watch him load the gun with the bullet, and you know, that is pretty intimidating, especially because the guards like the Mr. Number 2 status, they just let him do whatever he wants, so they're just standing there watching him. Yeah. And everyone's like obviously pretty freaked out, but puts it to his head, and you know, one of the best lines in a great lined episode, great script on the episode. But so the sumo guy's about to pull the trigger, right? And then in a sheer absolute Baki move, Mr. Number 2 kicks this guy in the balls so hard, the screen goes red.
You think I won't shoot you?
Poor guy. He really had no choice but to pull the trigger. Number 2's got him right where he wants him.
And the guy's immediately incapacitated, right? Perfect. And then my favorite line right after is Baki goes,
"Is that Kempo?
Is that Kempo?" Like, he just kicks a guy in the balls, and Baki's like, whoa, what technique was that? That must have been Kempo. It's just a ball kick, Baki. I don't think it's not that deep, my man. Like, there's
Baki
no
still
technique about it.
This incredible technique. You know, it's so funny. The end of last season was just Baki kicking Muhammad Ali in the balls.
Right, so he was doing Kempo, I guess. He's just like, this is my Kempo, is kicking people in the balls. I'm pretty sure anyone who's actually done Kempo would be pretty upset by that, but I've actually never done it, so maybe it is kicking people in the balls.
Yeah,
and that's Kempo.
That's the literal transition, ball kick. Yeah, it's so funny. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, he like there was no other martial arts in that fight. It was just unless the part of Chinese Kempo is to give your opponent a gun and point it at your head. Man.
Bold strategy, very bold strategy to do that. I guess that's not why a lot of people do Kempo.
No. So round 1 goes to Mr. Number 2. However, the fight's not over. They end up going to the exercise gym or whatever. I didn't know prisons had gyms. Like maybe they do. It looked like a high school gym. And they decide to have a real sumo fight. And what unfolds is not only not a sumo fight, in my opinion, but the grossest thing I think I've ever seen on this show. And I would honestly recommend, don't look it up. It was gross.
It was graphic, to say the least, just in like the weirdest ways. Like, because you're right, this sumo, it's a pretty nice gym. It's nicer than my high school gym. But then again, this prison is like what? The prison is the prison in the opening, I'm assuming. It's huge.
It's the Black Pentagon, yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty insane. So, I mean, it's a nice gym. It looks like they got more than one of them. But, you know, Mr. Number 2 can do whatever he wants. Even guards come in to watch. And, they're doing this sumo thing, and without even warning, Mr. Number 2 just kind of starts the match. He just hugs sumo guy.
The Arizona Grand Sumo Tournament starts now.
So, we're just gonna dive in?
What is it you say? Hakeoi?
And he's like, okay, let's begin. and he's just hugging him, and it's kind of sweet for like 3 seconds. They're just like embracing each other. And then the sumo guy's like, all right, time to kick it off. I can do this. And he tries to pick him up, Mr. Number 2, that is, and he can't, for reasons that I don't think they'll ever explain.
Che Guevara is just really dense.
I get he's
like
got
diamond.
lead boots or so. He was lead underwear that day, because he's literally like standing there, and there's a moment where he like leans back.
I should be able to pick you up easy.
There's no way you can pick me up.
Yeah.
And like lifts his feet off the ground, yet the guy still can't lift him. So I don't know what kind of magic that is, but
It's Chinese Kempo.
that's classic Kempo. But yeah, and then it gets to the gross part, where I need to know what Che Guevara uses as conditioner, because he plucks like 3 hairs from his head.
Yeah.
As he's still embracing the sumo guy. Yeah.
First, he slaps the guy's ear so hard that his eardrum blows out, which is a classic Baki move. I think second only to the ball kick, in that they happen 50% of every fight. So his eardrums.
They're doing the
out.
classics.
But this is where it gets weird. Yeah. So he gets he grabs a few strands of hair, and then what does he do?
But here's the thing. He grabs the hair, and at first the hairs are like rock hard. He makes like a little spear of hairs. And then he goes and puts the hairs in the guy's now broken eardrummed ear. And then the hairs somehow, by simply twisting his fingers a bunch of times, Che Guevara gets his hairs to wrap perfectly around this guy's inner ear. And like Dr. Octopus arms, like grabs it and rips it apart. Completely just ripping apart this guy's inner ear until there's like nothing left.
Yeah, his ear canal just squeezed like just into oblivion. And the guy can no longer stand up. He falls down. He gets back up. He falls down again because he doesn't understand, which fair. I would not assume that somebody used their hair to wreck my inner ear. It's just insane.
Yeah, it's gross. Like they show the inside of his head and how the hairs like break everything, and then like blood like shoots out of this guy's ear. And meanwhile, you're right. Like, how is that sumo? Is it the hair? Is it the like? He just slaps him, and the sumo guy's even like, "What was that?"
I lost at sumo. What was that technique? The Harite slap?
A sumo slap? Like, I got no idea what technique that was. I don't even think that was sumo.
Yeah, and the best part is during this whole thing, because Jacob he moves quite slowly during the whole thing, and the sumo's just sort of still trying to pick him up the whole time, like doing nothing. Like if somebody stuck something in my ear, I wouldn't just keep my head there like, okay, yeah.
Well, I gotta give sumo at least a little credit here, because if someone plucked hairs and stuck it in my ear, I'd go, what the hell is that gonna do? They're hairs.
Yeah.
Then apparently his hair's got superpowers. He's got like iron hair that can rip body parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd hate to see the hairball coming off of him. It'd be treacherous. It'd probably be like thick. Maybe that's why he couldn't lift him.
It's his hair. Yeah.
It's his hair. It all makes sense now. See, that's one thing Baki does. Makes complete sense when you need it to. There we go. We just put the pieces together there.
Jacob Vera's has just been for years sewing steel wool into his scalp.
Well, he can do whatever he wants, and I guess prison's pretty boring. So, I mean, it's a time. It wastes time.
Yeah. So the defeated, the sumo is left in the gymnasium, and I think this is what you wanted to refer earlier. Definitely the coolest guard moment of the season.
Oh yeah, it's the coldest thing I think I've ever seen in a Baki episode. It was kind of like sad and a bit emotional. You felt for the sumo guy.
Not a lot of people die in Baki. You know, people get defeated, they get their ears squished, but usually then they just go to the hospital and they come back with like a mecha ear or something. Like,
also so unceremoniously. If someone dies, it's like, yeah, I put my vacuum hand in his soul and ripped it out or something. Like, it's something like so crazy. This guy just gets popped in the back of the head. So this guard comes over. So, you know, Mr. Second leaves the gym. He's won. It's like a complete wash, of course. And he leaves the gym. The second he leaves the gym, the guard comes behind the sumo guy who's like literally picking his eardrum up off the floor.
yeah.
Just trying to get a grasp. And the guard goes, hey, what are you doing in here alone?
Hey. What do you think you're doing in here all by yourself?
We told you you can't do this. And he pops him in the back of the head. It's cold.
You can see that sign on the wall, can't you? You know, normally I'd just shoot you right here and now without any warning. But since you're new here...
He goes, usually I wouldn't even give you a warning.
Well, I will say, that kind of ruins the moment where he goes, you know, didn't you see the sign? And he points to a sign that literally just says, no warning. Like, in the gymnasium, a singular sign that says no warning has no contact. Like, there's no further. I know they said they'd shoot him with no warning, but a sign that just says no warning.
I guess that's what it means. If you see that sign, you will die. No warning.
Why'd they put it in the gym? Those rec leagues, no wonder no one else was in there. Those rec leagues, everyone is dead because they just go there, see no warning, and boom.
The intramural massacre.
Oh God. Yeah, but that's a pretty sweet moment in the episode.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then for the rest of the episode, we are just sort of learning more about Che Guevara. So Baki and him have a talk, and they have I like this dialogue where Baki is saying that, like, oh, they don't call you number 2 because you're second place to Oliver.
It means second generation, because I'm like the second Mr. Unchained.
Which I enjoyed, even though he is clearly also number 2, like the second guy. I don't think all 4,000 prisoners agreed on what they're doing there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Baki ends up getting in some trouble because he's talking to a ghost. But then he takes a police baton and does the spoon trick with it.
I see you've played knifey spoony before.
I mean, you know, even in the original Baki, the one I watched, you barely see Baki or anything he does. But this was one of the coolest moments. He does the floppy spoon, but with a guard's baton. I mean, that was pretty baller stuff. It was on theme too. A good callback from Baki this episode.
Yeah, it's funny because this season is so much more Baki, but not really this episode. This episode is more of a traditional Baki and just him just watching it happen. However, because of his tricky spoon trick, Baki gets sent to shirtless solitary confinement.
Shirtless and pantsless. He's just in his underwear.
Yeah, he'll be there a few times this season.
But can I bring for those at home who haven't seen the episode? I mean, he's put in what can only be described as thumb cuffs, like small handcuffs just for his thumbs when Baki is put into this like solitary confinement for the baton stunt. And I mean, we've seen Baki dislocate legs and arms. His thumbs would seem pretty simple at this point. Like, how is that secure in any way?
Honestly, this whole prison operates on the honor system, I feel like. I think even the guards
pick that up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially when his old man friend is the one bringing him food to his solitary confinement cell. I feel like there's 3 violations there minimum.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Like, does the old man also have free reign over this prison? Did the guards ask him to do it because they didn't want to? I don't know.
Like, and he shushes Baki like it's a secret. Like, there's not cameras or a guard that let him in or anything. It's just like, oh, shush, Baki.
And it's not like
no one's supposed to know.
And it's not like he brought him anything like nice as like a little treat. Like, he just got bread and gruel.
I know, right? and a fork and knife that he even remarks as being useless.
All they're giving you is bread and a cup of soup. I can't really see why you'd need a knife or a fork for that. Not to mention, it's not like you could even use utensils the way they've got you.
That he decided to bring anyway. I mean, maybe they'll come into play next episode, but I mean, they certainly weren't a big hit this one.
Yeah, so that leads us into the remaining chunk of the episode, which is this old man telling us the story of Mr. Number 2, or as we've said a few times, Che Guevara.
Oh man, I mean, it was a big as someone who had no idea, to then be like, oh, that guy's name is Che Guevara. It was like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. It sent me. I was so excited for that twist. And you know, in classic Baki fashion, somehow Che Guevara is from Japan. His name is Jun Guevara, but he goes by Jay.
His real name is Jun Guevara, a 21-year-old third-generation immigrant from Japan. In English, he goes by Che Guevara.
But he's originally Japanese, yet he is the president of this island, not Cuba. They make it abundantly clear, hey, it's a different island. It's not Cuba. But oh my goodness, Jun Guevara. What? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's wild.
And it only gets wilder.
Oh yeah. There's so many parts of this story that I like. Like first off, I just want to comment on they make Che Guevara a pirate, but like not like a modern Somali pirate. Like he's swimming around in like the Black Pearl. Like it's just
literally
pirate.
A sailboat. There's a scene in this episode where they're doing the backstory where Che Guevara steals or robs a cruise liner, a modern cruise liner with the Black Pearl. Quite literally a sailboat. Yeah. And it makes no sense. That's just. And why is he a pirate president?
Well, I don't know. I think he's just. Well, that's the weird thing is like, so we just got off the Muhammad Ali season, and like I think that was the most like transparently like I know his name was spelled ALAI, but like he was very clearly Muhammad Ali. Che Guevara, there are a lot of little differences, you know? Like, how is he so good at martial arts? Well, clearly he's from Japan. Like, can we make it about Cuba? Well, no. Also, the timeline wouldn't work out because Che Guevara's dead. So you gotta, like, move everything around a little bit. But looking at these two together, like these two characters who have been focuses for the show, I've realized that what they have in common is that they are both like figures that are very like anti-America, or not, maybe not, but like he really respected Muhammad Ali for his protest against Vietnam, and then his next choice is Che Guevara, who I believe in real life tried to overthrow a US-led Cuban dictator, and in the show goes a step further in his anti-American policies. But there seems to be it was just picking up on some politics there.
I mean, picking it up, I found it pretty black and white. There's a literal line where it's like,
but by then they weren't even treated like people, just peons worthy of no more than a pittance. Capitalism was infringing on the pride and culture of the islanders and threatening to extinguish them.
And, I think that speaks volumes to where the creator of Baki, I guess, stands on this. I mean, it's political, but not, I guess, because, he does depict George Bush in this episode, and it's not in a kind light. So that, in a way, I guess, is pretty political, but he's just saying,
the George Bush stuff is wild. So Che Guevara was a pirate. I assume like a Robin Hood figure for his people. And at a certain point, he gets annoyed with all of the rich capitalist swine that keep coming to his island and corrupting it. So he trains his pirate crew martial arts, and he doesn't allow weapons because he thinks weapons hold you back. Not because of some Batman type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's a great line when he's training these people, it's like how rigorous and difficult the training was. And the narrator says, many men died in the course of their training, but not a single one made the decision to quit. Yeah, they died. Yeah. Of course they didn't quit. They're dead. They quit in a way, but they couldn't quit before they died. So yeah, I get it. Maybe that's why no one quit.
Anyway, so we cut to George Bush with, I assume, his cabinet.
All right, look. Isn't there anything we can do about this little island? It seems the cries for independence are only getting stronger.
And they're talking about what to do about this island nation, which is apparently a part of America. So, like, there's Puerto Rico, there's Guam, and there's Che Guevara's island.
They never name it. They never say the name of this place. Yeah. But it was a treat. Thank you for putting me on this episode, Steve, because you got me to talk about George Bush, and this is perfect. Because I think it's like the perfect iteration of George Bush. I think this is what my mom thinks George Bush actually was like. This is like my mom's version of George Bush. He's just an absolute asshole.
Just send some airplanes down there. Have them make a couple of low flybys. Real close to the ground, and then bam! I mean, one shot would be enough to take out the whole island.
Yep.
And so stupid.
Yeah, no, it's a blast of the past, because nowadays I feel like you can have a bit of a rose tinted glasses on Bush, and it's like, oh, he's not Trump, he's not this type of stuff. But this was written, I think, probably around like after 9/11, probably like during the wars that were kicked off, and I feel like yeah, this is a much more like of its time depiction of Bush as the bumbling asshole.
Like, this George Bush 100% planned 9/11. Like, I believe that to a T. Like, you can say what you will about the actual reality, but this George Bush planned 9/11. That's kind of what they're going for sure.
Well, come on now, son. Are the press here? Well, if not, then I'm going to fly the planes into our...
That was, it's like, what was it, one general who's like, don't worry, sir, we'll call it a coup d'etat when we invade this country, and we'll control the press top to bottom.
Yeah.
Isn't this 2006? What?
Yeah. No, it's great. However, so his plan is to just fly a bunch of planes into this island, which apparently is a part of America, and just like blow it up.
Yeah, like bomb it to hell. Yeah, drive these like planes real low, and bam, he even says, and yeah.
If I may interject something, Mr. President, it seems to me that a nation's independence is something that should be respected. If the will of that nation's people is unified behind their leader, then...
Secretary James, we aren't in front of any press or cameras in here, so give all that nonsense a rest already. I mean, just read the room, man.
But luckily, Che Guevara's thought ahead, and he has one of Bush's security guards turns out to be one of Che Guevara's men, and so he, backflips behind the president and just threatens that he could kill him at any moment.
Huh?
Stop right there. You boys, freeze! If you make any sudden moves, I'll twist the president's spine 360 degrees, and you don't want to see that.
I like to call this guy Hot Sikorsky, because that's exactly who he looked like. He was just like a hot, toned Sikorsky, but he spoke like a California surfer, which only raised questions about Che Guevara's country. Why is this man with this accent?
I like to think that while he was a pirate, he just collected people across the seas. But yeah, he doesn't... He looks like just a regular California guy.
And his name is Chamomile Lesson.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, I can't believe
that's the most made-up name I've ever heard in my life. Chamomile Lesson.
Who are you?
My name's Chamomile Lesson. I was recently hired to be one of your personal bodyguards. Also, I happen to be a citizen of the very island that's currently under discussion. Nobody move, or else I'll twist the president's spine 360 degrees. Like, that's not threatening. I'm sorry, Chamomile Lesson.
Yeah, if you went for the Earl of Grey lesson, I think that would have been a little bit more.
No, that's his other. That's his third in command.
Che Guevara, Che Guevara, Earl Grey Guevara, and
Earl Grey Guevara just rolls off the tongue.
This is my pal Orange Pico. So the episode. The buff security guard who says he'll kill the president is only half of Che Guevara's plan. The other half is a very early live stream where he does a house tour of George Bush's house.
No way, that's my house!
That's right. Today, I'm at the home of none other than Mr. George Bush, the current president of the United States himself.
What's the meaning of all this?
In real time, they make a note of being like, this is real time.
Yeah. Now, what was interesting to me is that George Bush is clearly supposed to be George Bush. And I also bet if I look on the Baki wiki, his name's going to be like Georg Bosch or something like that. But the thing is, his family did not look like George Bush's family. Like, that didn't look like Laura Bush. And he had 2 sons instead of 2 daughters, who I believe is his actual family.
I was going to say, this is classic Baki women erasure. Muhammad Ali's actual daughter replaced with son. This is why 2 sons. I just could not wrap my head around, like, why did they change it to sons for no reason?
For the long game. In 20 years, those kids are going to come beat up Baki.
Oh my God. George Bush's sons are the antagonists of Baki season 48. That would be pretty good.
Baki is inexplicably still 16, but the children have now aged to 25.
Well, they also dropped that Che Guevara, when he does all this, is 17, which, you know, is pretty insane to have a full army that has 2 members of our organization in all 50 states, they can.
2 of our operatives have been dispatched to each of the 50 states. By now, they've established themselves there, and it would only take one of them to hijack a plane or to seize a nuclear power plant using nothing but their bare hands.
I didn't catch that. I don't know what it is with Japanese media, but like, you can watch an entire show. Like, people just have jobs. They're like, you know, they have a mortgage, and then it's like, oh, and this is where they go to high school. I'm like, what? What is happening? Why are they 17?
It's so bizarre. And like, they even make a note of it in the episode where the announcer's like, and he spoke of freedom to his people, but he was too young for everyone to really be on board. And it's like, well, kind of, yeah. Like, if a 17-year-old was like, I'll free us, I'm not using weapons, we're gonna punch everyone to death, like, yeah, I'd kind of be a little skeptical.
Yeah, I would not be swayed by the no weapon approach is actually more deadly. I'd be like, all right, bud. But yeah, so Che Guevara just continues, basically says like, I've got your wife and your children here. Don't mess with me, Bush. Now here's the thing. Why is Che Guevara in prison when he clearly is a god amongst men and is above control of the U.S. government? Matt, why is he here?
Well, that's very obvious and simple, Steve. He's here because he wants to fight Mr. Unchained himself, Oliva, who is the strongest, who is quoted several times in this episode being on par with strength of George W. Bush, which I know is like metaphorical, but they make it seem like George Bush is a powerhouse himself. Like, George Bush knows Kempo and he's kicking people in the nuts left and right. Like, they really see like those two as equals for some reason.
Yeah, which is quite silly. But you know, I think it's supposed to imply that Bush controls the white Pentagon and Oliver is his equal who controls the black Pentagon.
I never put. Oh my God. Oh Lord. Yep. Okay.
What I always like about this is it sort of turns Oliver into, well, look, if we look at Marvel, for example, Captain America is this representation of what America wants to be, like the nice, the aspirational picture of America is what Captain America strives to be. And I feel like Oliver is the author's Captain America of like what he views America as. Oliver is their champion, for better and for worse.
Well, I will say, I mean, the way he ties the prison industrial complex to Oliver's whole character, I mean, maybe you're right. I think there is a Captain America play there somewhere. And he's saying something about how prison is intertwined with America because the guy lives there. It's whack.
Yeah.
My God. I think there's easier ways to challenge Oliver than be put in prison indefinitely until you eventually fight him. Like, there's no timeline to that, right? It's just, oh, maybe I'll fight him.
That's a really good point. Except two counterpoints, one on both sides of the argument. I will say that both Baki and Che Guevara have the exact same plan, we found out, which is to intentionally go to jail to fight Mr. Oliver. But on the flip side, you're right. Like, Sikorsky, Doyle, like, I guess that was all he fought. But, like, if you just commit enough crimes, they'll send Biscuit Oliver to you. Like,
I mean, the guy is holding the president's family hostage. Is that not a big enough crime? Is George Bush like, nah, it's chill, like,
I guess
let him hang out?
I guess what we can take away from this is that whatever Sikorsky did, it was worse than worse than kidnapping the president.
I never lose regulation matches barehanded or bare-assed.
Oh my goodness. I guess so. All those death row inmates. I mean, I'm wondering what Speck did. That guy, you know, he was in an American prison. And he was, I don't even know.
The question isn't did Speck kill somebody? It's how many hundreds of people have Speck killed.
Yeah, that's probably. It's at what number? Stop me at what number Speck has killed people.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's more or less the episode. Unless there was anything else you wanted to touch upon.
No, that's kind of it. It just kind of ends. It's just like the old man who is kind of telling Baki all of this is like, you know, so he's here for the same reason as you are. And I just can't, like, you know, it just leaves you with, you know, the classic Baki questions. Like, why is the president of a country also a pirate? Why did they have to add that detail? Couldn't he just have been like a president or a pirate? I don't know.
I feel like it asked the opposite, you know? Why isn't every president of a country a pirate?
Well, apparently if you're George Bush, it's because you control all the media and you don't need to be a pirate.
Very true. All right. Well, Matt, a final question for you. So since you've watched all of the original series, do you think that the one episode of Baki Hanma you've seen do you think the show is moving in a positive direction?
Actually, yes. I think this premise is really fun. I love a prison is a really good kind of stage for fights, I guess. It's kind of naturally built into it. So, you know, the fights make a lot more sense than, like, you know, Baki kissing his girlfriend and then having a weird, like, dinner moment where someone interrupts and they just, like, challenge each other to a fight. You know, the prison format is pretty good for this, and it gives Baki a clear goal. He's trying to fight Oliver. It's like achievable, not trying to fight his dad that is quite literally a god. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, sounds fun, and I'm excited for him to fight Pirate Prez.
Yeah, maybe that'll happen. Who knows?
I hope so. They're really hyping it up.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Matt. This was a blast, a hoot and a half.
Please, the pleasure was all mine. It's such a gift to be a part of this, and you've made all my morning commutes so much better with this podcast. So thank you, Steve, and the time you put into this Baki Talkie. It's quite a privilege.
A privilege. Wow.
It is in a way, I guess.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. All right, well, that's all the Baki we've got to talkie, so see you all next week.
Friday.